Good morning, everyone. This is Trish Verzera. I apologize last night on the call that we had technical difficulties, and for whatever reason, I wasn't able to talk with you guys. But it's interesting because the more I've had to think about it, I'm actually going to definitely still touch on, I know what I wanted to cover for the main topic for Rachelle and Tracy, but I wanted to give you actually a little bit more on my story. And the reason for that is when Tracy was talking last night, she said, for you guys to not compare yourselves to people who've got 20 plus years of experience in this industry. And so I don't really want to talk to you about so much my experience here with Seacret, but I want to go back 20 years to when I first got started in this industry, which was in Mary Kay. So just back up 20 years. I was 26 years old. I had lived in Atlanta, Georgia, had just gotten married, and was a CPA, and had put myself through 4 years of college, and for 2 years studied my butt off to pass at that time all 5 parts of the CPA exam. And so I was a very shy person. I was really good once I got to know people, but getting up in front of people scared me to death. And so what I would do is, honestly, I just didn't get in front of people. So getting into this industry and this business was so outside of my comfort zone that it's just absolutely crazy. But just to kind of tell you, so I had just gotten married. I was out, I think at the mall. I don't quite remember. But I had a woman walk up to me, and she came up and she said, "Excuse me, I hate to bother you, but I'm putting together a portfolio of before and after pictures, but I'm doing makeovers with people. And I think you have the most beautiful blue eyes, and I would love to use you in my portfolio. Is that something that would interest you?" And I was like, "Sure." I'm like, "Okay." She said, "I have pretty eyes." Yeah, okay, I can do that. And so if any of you have ever been to ACT, I think you've heard that before. And I'll just let you know right now, that was how I built my entire business. Was by doing that. But what I did, I went home. So she, "Could you give me your name and number? I'll give you a call. We'll set up a time that's convenient for both of us." "Sure, sounds great." So anyway, I went home. She called me. I went and sat down and did a one-on-one facial with her. And we took pictures before and after. And while I was there, she said, "Listen, not only are we doing a company promotion where you could win a free trip to New York and get a makeover, meet with the makeup artist, we're doing a local event here. We are within our group, we're going to be judging the pictures, and you'll have an opportunity to win some free product. Will that interest you?" And I was like, "Of course. I'm a newlywed. Yes, that'll interest me." So long story short, she then called me, confirmed that I was coming, and I said, "Yes, I will be there," and I went to the event. Well, at the event, I did not win, just so you know. There were lots of people there. My pictures were not chosen, which was fine. Still had a good time. But what they did while I was there is really what kind of changed everything for me and what got me into this business. And that is that they went into their marketing plan. And I don't remember now. I think there's 10 or 12 different levels in Mary Kay. But they had them all on a piece of a laminated sheet. And what they did is they used people who were there to come up for the example. So, first one, you got your star consultant, and maybe that's not even it. I don't know, senior, whatever it is. Basically went through the comp plan. And I'm sitting back and watching, and I'm thinking, holy crap, these people are making a lot of money making lipsticks or selling lipsticks. And then she called me up for one of the higher ranks. And, it said on the back, what each rank did, what you had to do to get there and how much money you were going to make. And that's when I was really kind of blown away, because the one that she gave me was her rank. And so I knew it was possible. And I'm reading the back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have gone to college for 4 years and I have, studied to be a CPA. I'm not making anywhere near this. And I had just gotten my raise for that year. And for all the hard work I'd put in, and I loved the people who I worked with, and they loved me, and my raise was still crappy. And so I just thought, wow, this is awesome, but it's also probably too good to be true. And I don't know if I could do this because I'm pretty shy. I don't like to get in front of people, and pretty much was just talking myself out of it. But I took the paperwork home that she had given me, and I threw it on the table. And that weekend, my husband at the time was traveling every single week. And he came home that weekend, and he was looking at it, and he's like, "Are you going to do this?" And I'm like, "I don't know. It's not really for me." And he's like, "I think you should do this." And he goes, "Plus, I'm traveling. I'll give you something to do." And I'm like, "Okay." So I called her and I said, hey, you remember me? And she's like, yeah, I remember you. And I'm like, you know what? I think I want to go ahead and get started with this business. And I know she was excited, and I was excited. I met with her. And while meeting with her, she went through all the different inventory options. Let me repeat that. Inventory options, not business sets that are going to help you promote your business. This was inventory that you had to house, that you carried all your appointments, that you literally had to carry a store with you at all times. But I was an accounting major, a business major. I knew inventory was important if you're going to start a business. And so I bought the biggest package. And let me tell you, the biggest package after tax and shipping was $4,000. Nothing like what we have in this company. But I did it, and I got started, and I'm thinking, I just spent $4,000. I better get my butt moving. But she sat with me, and she gave me a sheet that said, it had like 30 different names to fill in. And she said, what I want you to do is go out and put the product on 30 people in 30 days. And I said, okay. And she had a weekly sales meeting, and I showed up at the sales meeting, and she was, giving out awards for different things. And I was just one of those people who, if I was going to show up at something, I was never going to show up without doing my homework, because I wasn't going to be pointed out in front of people for failure. Like that just wasn't who I was. That the thought of standing out in a negative way did not appeal to me. And so I went out and just started calling people and put product on faces. And at the end of the month, she has this big group of people. I think there were only 2 people out of this entire group who put stuff on all 30 faces. Well, what I quickly realized is we were the same 2 people who were making all the money within this unit. And I just honestly kept listening. I called the few friends I had in Atlanta. I brought them to her house before meetings because she did makeovers, because I didn't know what I was doing. But I knew if I could watch her and do exactly what she was doing, that I could do this business. But I'll be honest with you, I didn't really put a lot of thought into that. She said, go put the product on 30 faces in 30 days. And so in my mind, I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I had to put a product on 30 faces in 30 days. And so that's what I did. And within just a couple of months of going out and finding people, I went to sororities. I went to people who I didn't know in the mall. I wasn't so great at getting people to book parties right away, but I was really good at bringing individual people in together to make my own parties. And I really just did whatever it took to get the numbers. I just figured it out. And I stepped outside of my comfort zone and figured it out, because what I did know for sure was that I wanted to be making the money that they were making. I wanted her lifestyle. And doing what I was doing with my accounting business, even though I thought it was going to be this really awesome, glorified business, wasn't going to get me to where I wanted to go. And so I just followed her lead and did that. And so, within a few months, I realized very quickly that holding 2 to 3 parties a week, I was making more money than at my full-time job. And within a few months, I was on target for my free car, which I then won. I then quit my job. I took a total leap of faith and quit my job, which at that point was really the changing point, because there was no way I was going to have someone say, I told you so, and have me fail and have to go back to what I was doing. I wasn't looking back. And so I just figured it out and went forward and thought, I will never let someone say, I told you so, that you can't do this. Because let me back up to my very first week in Mary Kay. One of my best friends, she was the maid of honor at my wedding. I was in her wedding. She called me from her honeymoon, and I was so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for you to get home. I said, you aren't going to believe this. I started this new business, and I can't wait to share it with you when you get back. And this is where expectation level is so key, because my expectation was for her to say, oh, great, I can't wait to see it. When in actuality, what she said was, I knew they'd rope you in. And I'm like, I stood there on the other end of the phone and with my jaw dropped going, what? I knew they'd rope you in? Who says that? And who says that to their best friend? Like, why would someone say that? And again, I had no experience in this industry. But what I did know was she wasn't going to be the one who determined what my future was. And so I just kept going. So fast forward, I think Tracy, you heard from her that I stepped down from my directorship after about 4 years. I always stayed active in the company because I always planned on going back to Mary Kay. But when my kids went back to school, at that time, I just didn't know if that was the business for me. And I had been introduced to another company that was health and nutrition, but my sister was doing it. And one thing I had learned was that I thought it would be a lot more fun to build a business with friends and family than it was by myself, because I did do all my Mary Kay pretty much by myself. And it was great, but we were in a startup company. And unfortunately, after about 3 years, even though we had done pretty well with it, but after about 3 years, they changed their marketing plan. And when they did that, that took away pretty much all of our income. And so we had to make a choice. And that's when we found Seacret. And I will tell you, in the beginning, I was a little nervous about coming back to skincare, but I was also a little excited. And then as we got talking to Jesse about it and how we make money and going through our comp plan, I was ecstatic. Because one, this comp plan was so much better than anything I had worked with in the past. And two, these products were so much better than I had ever worked with in the past. And so, came out of the gates. And I'll tell you right now, most people who are successful in multiple companies, they didn't get there by luck. They got there because they went out and did the work. And so it's not that anybody's better than you. It's not that anybody is, I don't know, really. It's not that you can't do it. It's that they went out and did what it took to get there. And I think that's so important, because people like to compare themselves, and it's truly just about the activity. So I'm going to share some things with you. When Tracy and Rachel were talking about the way they're doing parties, I was all over it, because I was really excited and going out and having great results, but I wanted to get more people together at one time, because I just knew if I could get more people at one time, without it being too crazy and chaotic, that I could move up quicker, make more money quicker, do everything faster. And so Tracy sent me the scripts, and I watched the video, and I honestly, I printed out the paper, I cut it, and I taped it down to the cards, like she said, and I took those cards to the party. Now, mind you, I've been doing the same presentation for a lot of years. For 4 years in Mary Kay, I had the one presentation, and then when I came here to Seacret, I didn't even really use the flip chart. I just kind of went back to what I knew, and was still having success with it. So when I started with this, I'll tell you, I was very, very nervous, because the person who I was doing this party with was actually one of my best friends here in Raleigh. And she was getting together about 20 people who I also knew, who I've had a hard time getting in the door with for whatever reason. But they were willing to come to her party. So I was super excited that I was going to finally be in front of people who I've been trying to get in front of for the last 8 months. But I also was extremely nervous, because it was my first time doing this new presentation, and because it was with people who I knew. And for whatever reason, when you get in front of people you know they're judging you a little bit more. Or if maybe they're not judging you more, but you care more. And you shouldn't, but we do. That's just how we are as humans. And I'll tell you, this wasn't a perfect party either, because we got started. There were 20 people confirmed. Either 16 or 17 ended up showing, but only 10 were there when we started. And those other people trickled in throughout my whole presentation. And it was so irritating, because every time they trickled in, I lost my train of thought. And I had to look back at my cards. But what I found at the end, as I went through this presentation, and as I'm sharing these products and demoing and talking, everybody's laughing, they're having fun. I'm like, oh my God, this is so simple. This is so much easier than putting people around a table and having them do half their face. And so I got really excited, and I could hear people talking. And as I wrapped up the presentation, I'll have you know, I later went back and looked and realized I missed like 3 or 4 cards. I totally messed up when I did the ticket game, because I forgot to read the things off the thing. I just started handing out tickets because people started asking questions, and I never really did exactly what I was supposed to do. But I wrapped it up and started going around and talking with people, and asking them if they had questions and answering. And from that party, I ended up having 4 people at the party who wanted to sign up to be agents. I then was able to leverage 2 more people in who I had been working with, because as I was collecting them, I also just reached out to them and said, hey, I've got 4 people who I'm signing up. I know you've been thinking about doing this. It doesn't, sorry about that, whether you decide to do this right now or not, but I want you to know that I've got 4 people who are coming in, and I'd rather you have the choice for them to be in your business than for you to be in their business. And so I was able to get 2 more people. So I ended up getting 6 signups just in that weekend from that. I also, let me get to my notes here. So 4 people signed up. I ended up getting 10 VIP orders from that. My VIP orders totaled just under $2,000 from that party. I ended up having one more person who booked a party, and then with the agent packages and stuff that they came in with. Honestly, I didn't total that up, but we came in with a bunch of different things. So it ended up being an extremely successful party, and I didn't even do the dice game. And now I know I have to do the dice game. I did another party a couple weeks after that, doing the same exact thing. And it ended up being not so many people there because we got a fluke snowstorm in Raleigh the day that we were having that. Even though it wasn't supposed to stick on the ground, people in the South panic and they don't go anywhere if it's snowing. So I ended up only having 4 people there. They all ordered, but then I also got 3 outside orders, and I think the party ended up being about $1,200. But the hostess had so much fun, she said, I'm going to book another party with you because I have so many people who I want to get here. And then I did my 3rd and 4th party for the month, were actually parties that I created on my own. I'd had a couple others on the books that canceled, but what I did is I set up a party and I just started meeting with people, doing one-on-ones, doing facials, doing whatever, and putting those orders in through the party. But what I can tell you is their format on that is the best. And if you follow it to a T, I keep having people asking me, well, what did you do? Literally, I read off the cards. I read off the cards exactly what they had written out. Even when it said in the parentheses, pop a joke in, do whatever. I did exactly what the card said. And then missed some. And I still ended up having great results. So follow that and definitely add the dice game in, because I'm telling you that is, if I had put that in, I know for a fact I would have gotten more bookings at both of those parties. So definitely add that in. For me, I know that's what I'm going to do. But I want to just go back because a couple of things that I have definitely realized. I just came back from ACT this past weekend, and it's so funny how things start to come full circle. But I think back to when I got started and how I was really just kind of ignorance on fire and got out there and just did the activity. And don't get caught up in the small details of being perfect in this, because I don't care how many times you practice it, you're going to mess up and you're going to forget things. You know, every time somebody walked in that door and interrupted what I was doing, I got nervous and lost where I was. And I was so afraid. While I'm doing the presentation, I didn't let people know this, but in my head I'm going, oh my God, this is going to be horrible. It ended up being one of the best parties I've ever done. And I got so much good feedback from people who I knew from that, saying how much fun they had, how they were really nervous to come because they thought, you know, they were going to be sold. They know me, they should know I'm not going to sell them, but people still think that. So just go out and do it. And for me, part of my head start was when I came into Seacret last year, for the first 6 months, I really just kind of went out and did the business part-time because I wanted to see what I could do. And when I looked at the end of the year, what I did part-time in this business, then I said, okay, now it's time. I need to give this everything I've got going forward, because you know what? I love Tracy. I love Rochelle. I love Jesse. I love all these people, and I want to be on every diamond trip with them. And being where I'm at isn't going to allow that to happen. I have to be, you know, where they're at. So I had already put together a plan, and I knew that I wanted to bring in a minimum of 3 to 5 agents a month personally, and I know I wanted to have a minimum of 20 VIPs a month. And so what I did is basically I'm following the numbers. I'm going to be booking 1 to 2 parties a week. I'm going to make sure that I see a minimum of 24 faces a month, but I'm going to do whatever it takes to get those 20 VIPs. And then I'm going to do exactly what Ms. Offer says, and I'm going to do my 4 to 5 presentations a week. From that, I know I will end up getting my agents. I have done it now for 2 consecutive months, and as Ms. Offer says, you need to do it for 24 consecutive months. I am now on month 3. In month 1, I didn't bring any agents in. I did have 10 VIPs, but I did not bring any agents in. But in month 2, I brought in 8 agents. So the work that I did, those seeds that I planted in the first month, started coming in the second month. And now that I'm in the 3rd month, the same thing is happening. As you're following up with people and meeting with new people and following up with people, it all starts to happen. So if I can just tell you guys anything, be consistent and get active and get going. Don't worry about the results right away. They will come if you do the activity. And I hope that this helped you guys in some way, because I know for me that just watching the people who are successful, there's no shortcut. And if you talk to them, they're going to tell you the same exact thing that I'm telling you. It's just about getting out there and doing the activity. You will get better as you go, but you're not going to get better if you don't get started. So I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I look forward to meeting each and every one of you. Thanks.